an exciting time to be a Florida Gator fan between hoops and spring football and recruiting. Gators just got it going on. We're with Corey Bender here of Gators Online. Corey, before we talk about a little recruiting, who's been standing out at spring camp? What's the word out of Gainesville?
Yeah, I think one guy we can mention just because he was a hot name recruiting was former five-star quarterback Cormani McClain. A lot of DBs have been to Florida's campus over the last couple of weeks, a lot of top guys. And right now, obviously, people are dialed in recruiting, but I think they're also probably more dialed into like practice observations. How's the team looking? So I've been asking these kids who's standing out. And Cormani's one of the main guys that's always consistently mentioned. He's put on a good amount of mass since the end of last year. Really filled out. I think cornerback. They lost a few guys. It's obviously a group that's banged up as well. So competition's wide open, but I think Cormani has a good chance to start this year. It's pretty wide open. He's impressing in camp, playing with a lot more confidence, obviously knows the playbook a little bit better. And, Florida obviously has a whole new secondary staff. So, it's been challenging in that regard for a lot of these guys who are kind of learning Jerron Wilson, his new coaching style. But a lot of guys, I know in the first day of spring practice, we're only allowed to go see 15 minutes of it, but we were told Cormani had an interception, in the scrimmage as far as when they're practicing. They have another scrimmage next Saturday, so that'll be another big opportunity for him to step up. So I think he's one you definitely have to mention in a wide open, race at cornerback right now. Tyreek Sapp, another guy that's a familiar name to most people that cover recruiting. He's obviously entering his last year. He was one of the best sack edge rushers in the SEC last year. He decided to come back when he could have went pro. One of the guys that I think could really have a big year and really improve his draft stock. Almost had 10 sacks last year. So he's one, when you look at the defense, one of the natural leaders. Looks the part. He looks like an NFL guy with the way his frame's filled out. So you look at those two guys on defense, and I think another one too will stay on defense is Aaron Childs. He's a linebacker, 6'3", 235 pounds. He's a big kid. Even when he came out of high school as an Under Armour American, he was one of those guys standing amongst his peers. It's like, man, this guy already looks like he's been in college for a few years. Now at Florida, he's really coming into his own. Looks like an NFL type player. He's a really big linebacker. I think he's going to have a big year. And I think overall too, I know people want the skill positions and stuff like that, but Florida's offensive line as a whole has been really impressive. Obviously, Jake Slaughter, All-American first-team center. He comes back where a lot of people thought he could have went pro. Bryce Lovett's another guy, a former three-star kid out of Rockford, Florida, who's really getting high reviews, will probably be a starter this year. But I think it'll be Billy Napier's best offensive line group since he's been in Gainesville. All but one starter returns, and then some other guys like Fletcher Westfall, a former four-star guy, 6'8", who's battling for for the right tackle spot. So I think overall, when you look at offense, experience offensive line comes back. DJ Lagway isn't practicing right now. They're being kind of safe with him ahead of summer camp, so that way nothing gets happened. No, he's had some minor injuries, so they want to be careful with. And when you kind of mix him with the O-line and Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, some younger guys that are impressing, and some other upperclassmen, I think there's a lot of optimism when it comes to Florida's offense. It's a veteran group, but with guys like Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, you have some star power that's just coming into Gainesville in year one.
Yeah, all that's exciting to hear, especially the Cormani talk, because we cover him so much here on this channel, from his recruitment to the transfer out of Colorado. Now we're kind of following maybe potentially his redemption arc here at Florida and potentially battling for a starting spot. So it's always fun to hear about Cormani and the others that are standing out. Let's talk a little recruiting, though. Florida Gators have a shot at a 5-star offensive tackle. No, it's not Emmanuel Iheanacho. He made his cut down to 7. Gators did not make it, but Felix Ojojoo out of Texas, he's a big-time offensive tackle, and he'll be on campus in the coming weeks. What's going to be key to staying in this recruitment for the Gators?
Honestly, just getting the campus where it starts with, because he's told me before in recent weeks that Florida has done one of the better jobs recruiting him. They've been relentless with him, making sure he knows, hey, you're a top priority, one of the top guys on their board, regardless of position. Jonathan DeCoster, the co-offensive line coach, he's been one of the main guys when it comes to Florida's offensive line recruiting. Rob Sale's more the developer guy. He obviously recruits too, but DeCoster's played a key role with Florida being in the mix for a lot of these guys. So I think overall, getting Felix over the campus, it'll be for the orange and blue game on April 12th. When it comes to game day environments, it's kind of hard to kind of show everything, because obviously some kids get to the stadium, they watch the game, and then they leave. But from what I've heard is, the kid's going to get there fairly early, so that way you can see campus, spend time with the staff. And knowing what type of prospect he is, especially with Emmanuel not having Florida in this top group, I think they're going to turn up the heat even more and really make sure they show a lot of attention to him while he's in town. So I think if all goes well there, he's kind of said, hey, Florida could get an OV from me. I think it's kind of a wait and see. Florida's done a good job from afar without even getting a visit. And they were able to secure a visit on a busy day where he kind of could have went to a bunch of different schools for the April 12th day, but he's choosing Florida. So I think that says something. So if all goes well, Florida will get an OV, but it starts with that first strong impression, and Florida will get that roughly 2 weeks from now.
All right, stick it on this O-line board. Another one, Joel Ervin. He's out of Fort Myers, and he committed to Miami. He goes 6'6", 280 pounds. I know he's a 3-star recruit, but all 3 in-state teams were battling before this commitment to Miami. Knowing how in-state recruiting goes within the borders of Florida, do you have reason to believe this recruitment might not be over?
Yeah, I don't think so, man, because I talked to him in depth about 2-3 days ago, and he's like, I don't even know when I'm going to make a decision yet. He's like, it'll probably just be a gut feeling, which it showed it was. Miami was high in his list. He decommitted from Louisville right after a Miami visit, but he also went to Florida State before that, and then he went to Florida that same week. And he told me, hey, when my next decision, I'm probably going to stay in the state of Florida. It's just a different feeling for me. But Florida, I know from what I've been told, this is a guy Billy Napier himself really likes. He's another tower at the tackle position. Really, there's upside. He has ways to go in terms of development, but he definitely looks the part. He's supposed to come back as of now for April 12th as well for the spring game, and he also has an OV set for the summer. And like you said, Josh, it's only March. I'd be shocked if he doesn't take several OVs. And even before when he committed to Louisville, he committed to Louisville and then he decommitted about 3 weeks later. Now he's committed to Miami. So. Obviously that pledge to the Hurricanes is very strong, but I know Florida State, Kentucky, some out-of-state schools are going to be pushing hard for him as well. He did have a trip to USC out in Los Angeles scheduled as well. I don't know if he's going to take that, but I think it's one of those kids that he's obviously happy with where he's at. He loves Miami, but Florida will keep chipping away, and I think they'll definitely get him back on campus at some point.
All right, want to hit on one more flip target with you before we let you go. C.J. Bronaugh. He's committed to Nebraska, but now he is a top 20 player at his position. He's a DB. He's from Winter Gardens, Florida. He goes 6'1", 175. Maybe somebody that slipped through the cracks of the in-state teams, but now it sounds like the Gators are kind of circling back on CJ. What are you hearing here?
Yeah, no, he's one of those kids, man. 10.3 100 meter, state champion, 100 meter, good size. I think last year he had 6 interceptions, 3 for pick 6. So he slipped through the cracks as far as recruiting, but in recent months or recent weeks, I should say, Oregon, Florida, schools like that have all offered. So he's been blowing up. But from what I've known, he's told me, Penn State, Florida State, those are the 3 schools with the best shot at maybe changing his mind. That Nebraska staff, they got in on him early. Those relationships are strong. So it's going to be hard flipping him, but for sure after the last visit to Florida this past week, he said he was blown away. I know that obviously there's an appeal of staying closer to home. Jerron Wilson, the new secondary coach, they're obviously clicking really well. Billy Napier himself went on his way and said, hey, you're a priority. You're a guy that we want in the class. We love your high character, your leadership. So that Florida visit couldn't have went any better. And he actually scheduled his OV before he even got to campus for that spring visit. So I think that says a lot where, he kind of went into that spring visit thinking, hey, I know I'm going to like this school. Let's go ahead and lock that visit in. But I think right now, Florida and Penn State probably had the best shot at changing his mind. Florida State right behind them. And it's going to be an interesting battle. You can tell this kid has a decision on his hands. He's kind of looking at all different schools and probably has to make another decision whether he's going to stay put or, potentially make a flip. But, this summer is going to be key for him. He has all those OVs set for June, the 3 schools I mentioned along with Nebraska. And I think you're looking at a guy that with his height and speed and obviously his stardom in track and field, a guy that can probably rise in the rankings even more. So definitely a key guy, especially in the state of Florida, and a guy we'll probably be hearing quite a bit about in the coming months.
All right, Gator fans, if you're still on here, make sure you are subscribed to the On3 Recruits channel. Corey Bender with Gators Online. Exciting time to be around the site for Gator fans. Appreciate you stopping by.